Well, I guess then at that point, I guess I'll be the one bringing us in. George, what's up, everybody? Casey and George, the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel, sponsored here by TSR Racing Products, Champs Performance Parts, BRG, 3D printed parts, Syntex Printing out there in Temple, Texas, and of course, Driven Racing Oil, where you can use the code GBR10, get yourself 10% off. Let's see if we got old George back here on the mic yet.
Well, I hope so. Yeah, I think you do. Sorry, I'm tapping the mic. You probably heard that, and I was having a little bit of technical difficulty there, a little bit of changes going on, and I updated my broadcast system by accident. Well, needless to say, everything goes out of whack once you do that. But yeah, Casey, man, thanks for bringing us in. I know I'm um, definitely live now because I can see my meter moving. What we got going on today, man?
Man, I was telling you earlier, even you don't know this yet, because I wasn't telling you because I wanted to get your initial reaction and see what it's like because this is kind of something that may or may not be controversial. I don't really know yet, man, but obviously the OG Million is this week. That's why we titled this OG Million 2022. I mean, it's literally the biggest race of the entire year. It's the U.S. Nationals for bracket racing. Um, it's the Daytona 500. It's everything that there is to have as far as big money bracket racing goes. The OG Million is the longest running, as far as I know, big money bracket race in the entire country. Started in 1996. Long story short, I have been telling you all, I want to say at least the last 3 months, that I think this is going to be the biggest OG Million ever. And I think I might be right. The reason I think that is my buddy Brandon Lane's on site down there. I think him and Cody Strickland went down there to the OG Million. They're down there right now. And he told me a couple days ago that this place is just packed to the gills. And I've been
Dang.
seeing every once in a while on Facebook that it's packed, which is great, because first of all, it's fulfilling my prophecy,
Yeah.
but but the thing that I was keeping from you was what they're doing is they have so many cars on site right now, supposedly, and I'm fairly certain this is correct because, like I said, I got a buddy on site right now running these races. First, the very first race of the week is a $20,000 race. They call it the Race to the Million. And the reason they call it that is because it's $20,000 to win. The person who wins gets $18,000 check, cash, whatever it is. But then they get a $2,000 entry to the million, which makes 20. The runner up, I believe, gets a free weekend entry. So they basically get their tab wiped for the entire weekend. So they get a million entry and they get the entire weekend entered for free. And the semifinalists get, as their prize money, they get a free entry each to the million, to the big race. So what that has turned into is there are so many cars on property right now, they don't want to start the weekend way behind schedule, essentially, by having to race this race tomorrow as well. So what they're doing is, which I think might be a first in the entire bracket racing community, they said, look, we're going to run first round. The best 64 total packages are going to be the guys that are in second round. So what are your thoughts on that? Do you need me to repeat it? Because that's a weird thing.
Nah, man. I kind of wish you would have gave me the nugget offline. And hey, George, I got something I'm gonna hit you in the mouth with, so that I'm not caught completely off guard here. Um, I I love it actually, and as a matter of fact, they better be streaming this live on Motor Mania starting tomorrow because that's new. It's a wrinkle. It's not something that, like you just mentioned, we've never seen that before. It's like, for lack of better terms, if there's 600 cars down there, well, it's a race to the top 64 cars to enter in this race. You know what I mean? So that's pretty neat. I actually like that a lot. To where it's like everybody's trying to qualify via the best tightest package of 64 cars to get into this $20,000 18 to be paid out, two to be given to an entry fee. Um, I like it, and as a matter of fact, I hope everybody's watching so that we can watch that happen a few more times. It probably and seemingly would save a lot of time for the first day of the event for a lot of promoters. I can remember going to SFG's 525 and there being 730 some 750 something odd entries into the first race. That chops things down a whole lot if you only take 64. That's pretty neat, man.
And the cool thing is, I never even thought about it until you said it, and that's the reason I kept it from you, is because I wanted to give a little bit of extra insight as far as this went. Not give insight, but I wanted to get your off the cuff opinion because I knew there would be some meat there to kind of pick off the bone, which is it's a qualifying method. And I
Right.
never even thought about it that way, man. But it is really cool because regardless of if you win first round or not, I mean, yes, that isn't how racing's supposed to be, et cetera, et cetera. You're supposed to be racing the guy in the other lane. But it is going to be very interesting to see how this works out when you're talking about essentially what you're doing is a run for the money. That's almost exactly what you're doing because best package wins run for the money. As far as run for the money in my eyes is in time runs, you put up your $20 or whatever, and you have all these guys put $20 in the pot, and best package wins in their second time run. And I always thought that was a really cool idea, and maybe this is a great way to start off this entire weekend because don't forget about the fact, man, that the million's on Friday.
Right.
So we have a race today, which is Tuesday. We have a race today, or tomorrow, which is Wednesday. We have another race on Thursday. Then we run the million. Then we run on Saturday. So this isn't like they're, taking one of your 3 days out. I mean, there's what is that? That's 5 days.
Right. And I'm looking here, and I'm gonna guess that Ryan Gleghorn is probably gonna be behind the mic. He's chiming in here and saying this is an old format that we've done outside of last year. So this is not something that is new for the OG Million to have done, seemingly, according to Ryan Gleghorn, but definitely something that I don't think has gotten very much publicity behind it being done. Because if that's the case, we wouldn't have any meat on the bones. Casey would have done picked them dry already, I've got some mixed reviews in my chat. Keep them coming, guys. I'd like to know from you. We can turn that particular portion of Going Bracket Racing into an open discussion and let us pull off of your comments as well. But I've got Jimmy Nobles right off the bat mentioning, nope, he doesn't like it. I'm going to say, go ahead and elaborate, Jimmy, and I'll be glad to kind of give out your thought process between what you don't like about that. I know that it's something that when you show up to a race, it's not necessarily on quote to quote the flyer when you're showing up, and it's something that's kind of off the cuff. But what do you do whenever you got this many entries? Speaking of which, they had so many entries out there last week. I was expecting to hear somebody say this is the biggest OG Million that we've ever seen, because everybody and their mom went to the 20s last week, and seemingly they had a great time. I didn't see any televised, so I don't really know who won much of anything. But go figure that we'd have a carryover like this for the OG Million.
Exactly, man. But this show is going to be full of guesses, in the beginning, in the middle, and the end, because the OG Million, and, me and you, at least, if nobody else on here is super excited for the OG Million, you know that Casey and George are, because we do live from the 8th mile every single year for the OG Million ever since Going Bracket Racing started. Right. And we're going to do it again this weekend. So on Friday, definitely look for us for that. We absolutely will be here for that. We're going to try to get a hold of our buddy Brad Gebhart and get a third up in here because we think it just provides better commentary. But what total package do you think it's going to take to be in that 64 car field? Now, remember, these are the best racers. They are always the best racers at the OG Million. And we know, yes, there's great racers everywhere, but they all seem to converge at the OG Million every single year.
Hey, I'll tell you what, type that in the chat too while you're letting me know how you feel about this. Casey, man, that's going to be a tough call for me. At the same time, I kind of want to see, and Ryan's probably going to have the answer to this Gleghorn out there, but are they going to allow a double entry to get in the top 24 twice? Because that's really
60.
going to, or excuse me, top 64 twice. Because that is seemingly, I would like to see the double entry method go away. It's exactly what we talked about last time we were on air, Casey. When you don't have an extra gun in your pocket, when you don't have a backup, seemingly the god of lore on the totem pole seems to win it. Can we say evening the playing field a little bit?
Well, I would say actually I agree with that as far as the 64 car deal. Whenever it's kind of sprung on you at the last minute, I would agree with that. Because if you get that first entry, well, I guess at the same time, though, I'm kind of contradicting myself as I'm talking because you don't know that you're in until it happens. Now, to be fair, if you're one total, you know you're in. You know what I mean?
Sure.
you know you're going to be in. It doesn't matter if you're first guy down the track. So it would be, in my opinion, better probably to say that, these 64 cars you're not in twice type deal. Because if you do go up there, if I go up there and I'm personally up there and I'm perfect on the tree and I'm dead one and I get through and it's this type of scenario, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna be perfect on the tree the next run.
Sure.
And that's what I'm gonna do because I'm cutting it off because I already know I got one in the next round because you're not gonna have 65 guys, I guess I should say, that are one total.
So I like it. I like it, man. And I see Gleghorn commenting right now. Yes, you can qualify twice.
Yep.
So I really hope that this is listened to somewhere down the line. I know Ryan's listening to it right now, so his pencil's probably moving. Man, wouldn't it be a lot more fun to see that be a kind of a no doubles allowed race? But if you're entered the race twice, you can qualify twice. Maybe that's what he's saying, that you can qualify twice, but only one of your car numbers is actually going to be allowed into this actual race. That, my friend, makes it a whole lot of drama. And what better person to have behind the mic than Ryan Gleghorn for drama? I mean, we've seen that, from the race down in Virginia.
Yeah, man, absolutely. I mean, I was seeing over here in the chat, I can't find it back right now, but I was seeing over here in the chat, somebody was just saying they went back and watched the triple threat race at VMP because we were talking about how great of a job that Ryan did on the mic up there. And basically he said it was everything that we said it was. But back to the original, I guess, topic here. I think it's going to take at least 12 total to get in this 64 car deal. And I really want to say 10. I really want to say 10 total, man. I mean, like I said, these are the best racers in the country. They always show up at the OG Million. There are people that will legitimately say they'll big money bracket race all year long and say they run out of money in August. They will not race until OG Million weekend, and that'll be the end of their year. They will have money to race the OG Million.
Right.
They aren't going to miss it.
Right. And we got Quez the Duck over there is talking. He's saying 15 or better to get into the show. That's a good call. I mean, you better lay it down. Is all I got to tell you. We can throw more curveballs into this if we want to. Saying, are we off? I think there's maybe one time run. I'm going to guess. Looking at Brandon Taylor's comment, says it's probably going to be kind of cold out there, and all the time runs pushed out for the time for the curfew as well. So this is just smart. It's smart in my opinion, right? And what better way to get it out there too? Going bracket racing. If you hadn't ever heard this before, well, you're hearing it here right now. If you go to the OG Million, there's a chance that on the first warm-up day, you might run into a situation where it's a qualifying event, where if you're not in the top 64 packages, hey man, you're not going to race that first day. But at least you get your time runs. At least you get your data. And good luck trying to be 00 and low dead on. So, hey man, I actually like this quite a bit, Casey. I'm pretty sure there's more we can get into with this as well.
Well, I guess we might as well just talk about the fact of why is the $1 million race weekend, because we've had real $1 million races, you know what I mean? Like this has always been called the $1 million race. The reason it's called the OG Million is because it's the million per se, but it's never actually paid $1 million. I want to say, and Ryan, if Brian's still watching, he'll tell us, I want to say that he said the most that it's paid out is maybe 335 or something like that. I want to say it was the year Nathan Martin won. I saw that on one of his, or actually on one of our posts that Ryan was commenting on Facebook.
Yep.
So by the way, if you don't follow the Facebook page, go click the follow button because all of this information is usually up there. At any given time. We got tons of random posts and tons of people get involved with it. It's really interesting to see the information that's out there. But why, in your opinion, is the $1 million race the most anticipated race of the year as far as bracket racing goes?
I think you alluded to it in the very beginning of this conversation where we're talking about it taking a 10 or it taking a 15 or 12. That's astronomical in the first place. To get into a 64 car field, seemingly you had better be damn near perfect. Pardon my French. So that's one of the reasons why this is the U.S. Nationals, is because everybody there is going to be the top level contender in our sport. Um, Generally speaking, when you look at some of these other events, and I'm not going to say all of them because everybody's really doing a great job as it pertains to promoting, putting on good races, having a good turnout to show up at their races. But when you look at a race like this one, you're not going to have very many people that missed out unless they're just flat retired. For instance, I can only mention one person right now who might not be there, Scotty Richardson. Who knows, right? Because he's got work to do right now, right? So he's seemingly retired right now. But anybody who is actively racing for this year is going to be at this race. And that's why you call it the U.S. Nationals of bracket racing, because everybody's going. What do you say about the U.S. Nationals? Everybody's going. Maybe minus this year with the fuel prices being so high. And if you got to catch us with Dan Fletcher, him mentioning, hey, I'm going big money bracket racing instead of going to the U.S. Nationals because gas is stinking so much money, right? That's probably the only thing that would say take away from this event. Somebody would miss it maybe because of fuel cost. There's my answer.
Right. And speaking of that, I got Quez texting me. Sorry, Quez, I can't even see what you're saying because it's too far away from me right now. So you just need to put it in the chat. Whatever you want to say to me, you say to GBR. But yeah, man, even people who have realistically no intention of ever going to the OG Million get excited about this, man. And I think there's something to be said to the allure of what is the OG Million, just because it's been going on since 1996. But the fact of the matter is this race doesn't necessarily, I don't want to say it makes people's careers because, like you were just talking about, Scotty Richardson has never even won it. But look who Scotty Richardson is. Scotty Richardson, I will say, probably has been down to, say, 4 cars more than anybody in the history of the race, more than likely. But the thing is that, I guess I'm kind of getting off tangent here, but you don't need to win the OG Million to be who you are, but there are people, if you look at past winners like Johnny Ezel, he's always been Johnny Ezel, but once he won the OG Million, he became what Johnny Ezel is now. Same thing with Shane Carr. Same thing with Troy Williams Jr. back in, I want to say 98 or 97, something like that. Same thing with his brother, Gary Williams. It's just crazy to think of the stepping stone. Like, do you think that it just gives them the confidence that maybe they're like, well, if I can win this, I literally just beat all of the people I watch on MotorMania TV, and so maybe I can go compete?
I think that's a fact. And I think anybody who has, quote unquote, won anything this year that is going to be going to the OG Million, they're driving their rigs to the race thinking, oh crap, I'm getting ready to go and compete with the best of the best. It is what it is, guys, and it's not a secret that I'm going bracket racing. We're not speaking for ourselves when we call this the U.S. Nationals of bracket racing. This is seemingly a thought process of every single racer that I know. That follows big money bracket racing, that even watches it on MotorMania. This is the one. You don't be shocked if you see 8,000-9,000 people watching on MotorMania TV. That's this race right here. So, Casey, man, all I know is that I can see a lot of guys in the chat talking about Run for the Money, and maybe you can pick up on what they're talking about a little bit more over on YouTube. And definitely, I'm going to coin from Brandon Taylor. This is a warm-up day. 50 granders starting tomorrow, and that's way more important to him. And that makes a lot of sense too. I mean, take your data, get out there, get your shots at it. Hopefully you don't break out, which I'm seeing quite a bit of that in the chat too. Like, how many breakouts are we going to see? But hopefully, man, we see some pretty good racing. And Ryan, man, you got it, dude. No problem coming from us. You get the kind words because you did a heck of a job. That's why you get the kind words. That literally, you may have reformatted everybody's thought process behind leaving out a point series inside of big money bracket racing. Let that sink in, big dog.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I must have made a mistake by saying Quez was texting me, because now everybody's texting me. Just, I guess, trying to mess with me, make my phone flash during this whole show. You're not going to get me. You're not going to get me. I'll look it all up after it's all said and done. But yeah, man, as far as the Dash for Cash type deal goes, Typically, like I said, they do that in say second time run or whatever, or sometimes they use it as the only time run for the day. But a lot of times, a very small package will win that because somebody will go down there and get lucky, and you're using it for a time run, so you're legging it out. The fact of the matter is you can't really race the guy in the other lane whenever you're going through this format where they're saying 64 best packages get to go to the second round, because that guy might be running off. You have no idea if he's holding. You have no idea what's going on, but it's irrelevant if you win the round or not. It doesn't matter. So you can't drive on that guy. Well, there's a lot of guys that race these big money races. They don't run all out the entire time. That's not to say that they don't know what they can run all out, but that is saying that the guy who can hit the tree and go dead on, and that's what his intention is every single run, that guy is going to get in this 64 car shootout per se.
Sure. And I'm looking here at Mike Disseldorf's Disselhorst. Sorry if I messed up your name there, Mike. As I tell everybody, you can slap me next time you see me. Just don't hurt me, okay? Try to hit the beard, let it get a soft cushion or something. But he's saying I think the races around the million are just as important. That opinions are definitely fair here. For me personally, every single race I stage up for is going to be important. Number one, I'm a budget racer. So if I'm anywhere near $1 million race, or said warm up 20,000 to get into the $1 million race, it's going to be pretty doggone important for me. Okay, so definitely thank you for your comment. And while we're here, guys, make sure you hit that share button. We'd like to get as many people in here as possible to watch and chime in on this topic as we continue to go through the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel's topic of OG million. But hang in there, guys. We gotta take care of a couple of ads for you real quick. We will be back to discuss more. Don't go anywhere.
TSR Racing Products has everything you need to make your Power Glide Turbo 350, Turbo 400, and 727 transmissions the best they can be on the street or at the track. With exceptional products, customer service, and over 30 years of experience, TSR Racing Products is always available to help their customers with any of their transmission needs. In-house machining ensures you only receive the best products from TSR Racing. Visit TSR Racing Products at tsr-racing.com or give them a call at 800-394-5889.
BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts are able to provide you with whatever you desire to enhance your drag racing operation. Items like safety belt magnets, nitrous bottle holders, and even quick release delay box mounts are able to be obtained from BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts. Have a look at top-selling items such as helmet hooks and steering wheel hooks, which are proven to make it easier to maneuver throughout your race car. You can contact BRG Motorsports 3D printed racing parts at telephone number 765-729-1177. All right. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back, as always. Going Bracket Racing brought to you by TSR Transmissions. Anything transmission component you want, I'm pretty sure they can get it. Internally, if you got any questions, they've got a very good tech line you can give a call to as well. Get all your things taken care of. Hopefully everybody is having a good day. We got to thank BRG for being here as well, behind the Going Bracket Racing YouTube channel and making it super easy for us to maneuver throughout our race cars. I know those helmet hooks and those seatbelt magnets are definitely my favorites. I think he's probably going to come up with some type of a glove box, and I know I need one inside of Mo. Hold my tire gauge and my track temperature gauge and my dial-in board, depending on where I'm racing at, if I hadn't got it mounted to the car. So thank you guys for everything you do. Keep in mind, guys, we are at that time of year where Going Bracket Racing is renewing and updating our advertising package. Let us know if you would like to fill that Your Ad Here slot with your company. Just reach out to us on the Facebook page or send me a message. Send Casey a message. We'll be glad to work with you. Casey, man, where are we going with this?
Well, I can't remember who you were saying was just talking about all the races around the million being important, but that was actually the next topic that I was getting ready to bring up, which is the fact that the OG million is unlike what the Great American Guaranteed Million was, where you can run all the races around the million and not necessarily participate in the big race. And I always thought that was kind of an interesting idea because whenever we were younger, 20 years ago, I remember several of my dad's friends talking about going down there. And the idea was you go run all the smaller races around the million because there's three leading up to it. So it's not like you just have one, hope for the best, and then now you got the big race and now you got another race to close the weekend out. Like I said, they started racing today. And those final four guys are getting an entry to the million anyway. But the point is, the million is very round money heavy. And I'm going to pull up the flyer over here just so I can get this right. But basically, if you get, today, if you say got to sixth round, you could start thinking about it. There's $400 worth of round money there with 600, a sixth round win. But these triple 50s, which is what everybody's really going to be entered in because that's what the weekend entry starts including, those races, if you get down deep, if you get to sixth round win in those, so if you get to seventh round, you're talking $800. That's $500,000 entry right there. And like I said, I think this race is going to be one of the bigger ones this year with the turnouts we've had, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But I kind of want to just stay focused on the fact that a lot of guys, that bracket race that have done it their entire lives, they've always said, I want to go to the million at least once. Well, this gives you the opportunity to go there and not necessarily have to shell out the big money that it takes to get in the big progressive purse race. You can still have a reasonable amount of money that's not your whole house payment. You can still race a lot that weekend and still be a part of this major race. And if you do good in one of those races, you could justify saying, I'm just going to pedal my winner's money into the big race so I can actually have my name on the list and potentially have your name on that Hall of Fame list that they have on their website.
So I'll tell you what, and it's Mike Disseldorf who brought this up here about how important the little races are. And he also commented and said consistency is key. Well, it's a good warm up, number one. As many rounds as you get going into that first race. How many of us here that are racers can say we've been to a multi-day event and on that first day we made 5 rounds? Well, I don't know about you, but if you give me 5 rounds coming into the first day of a race, I'm going to come in with quite a bit of confidence. Consistency is already seemingly there as long as I'm able to repeat what I've done the first day. So I definitely can attest for, if I'm at this type of race and I'm able to get into it based on being one of the top 64 packages to qualify, number one, that's going to be a lot of confidence moving in the first place. Oh, you mean to tell me that my pack, out of all these guys sitting here, you got all these big heavy hitters, but my package made it in? Oh yeah, I feel real good. Not only will consistency be a factor, but confidence is going to go through the roof if you see me qualified for something like that. And that's just me in the first place. I mean, I'm confident coming into a race as it is, but that's going to give me a pretty good boost moving in through the rest of the week.
Definitely. And at the end of the day, it'll, more than anything, it'll take some burden off of yourself because you came down there intending on spending X amount of dollars anyway for all these smaller races. Well, now if you got that much money back, now this is this much less out of your pocket. Like, I mean, if you show up there and say you bought this weekend entry, it's 900 and let's just see, let me just look here real quick so that way I get it right. $990 for the triple 50s. Now, if you go there that first day and you win seventh round, you get $1,000. Well, at that point, you got an extra $200 right there on top of what you already spent, basically. Well, $10, I guess it is. But the point is you have that $990 back in your pocket that you already intended on spending. Now maybe you can justify, well, I'm already here. I'm already here at the OG million. This is the biggest race in bracket racing. Maybe I just enter it because I might not be here again. And maybe you end up going deep in that because, the round money really adds up in the OG million because if you win third round in the OG million, you got $1,000. And then the next round is 2. The next one's 3, 4, 5. I mean, it adds up quick.
I agree 100%, and like a lot of people are saying here, you got to have the ability to warm up, get into it. And Casey, I'm still shocked. I'm still stuck on the same subject even of this whole thought process of a qualifying race to even get into the warm-up race. Somebody write that down. Take that with you. Whoever's listening that does promotions of races. Take that with you whenever you come to a race and you've got so many entries for that first day, you'll never make it. You got a curfew. You got, I can remember watching Jake Hodge have a race. So it's 500 and something entries, 600 something entries. Man, something like this would seemingly be a good backup plan. Put it on your flyer to kind of negate the naysayers as well. For those of us who might have something against this type of a race, I need a really good reason. You have to tell me why a qualifying race with the best package getting in being the qualifier. Gotta tell me why that doesn't appeal to someone. Unless you
Right,
just
man.
can't, unless you can't turn it, low pack. I mean, I can get that.
Well, the fact of the matter is that I feel like the only reason that this is a beneficial thing to do at this particular race is because there are so many days of racing. There's not anybody really saying you're stealing a day of racing from me because they got a long time to go still. And all these people that are down here, I'd say probably 70% of them are there for the million anyway, period. And, if you're starting racing on Tuesday and you're going to race all the way through Saturday, I don't think that, you're still giving everybody the opportunity to win. You're just giving them the opportunity to win in a different way. And, I think that there's going to be a lot of different names that you see in this shootout, to be honest with you, that you wouldn't otherwise see. Um, just saying. But I want to get back to the whole deal of the fact that the reason I've been saying that this is going to be the biggest OG million in history is because I think a whole lot of people think that a recession is coming. I think there's a lot of people that think this might be the last opportunity they have to race for this type of money in the foreseeable future. And I also think because of that, I think there's a lot of people that are going down here saying, I think a lot of people are going to go down here. I think this is going to be the biggest OG million in history. And because this is a progressive purse, the more people that show up, the more money it pays. And with the car counts we've seen this entire year, whenever the economy has been going down this entire year, we saw 575 in Vegas whenever fuel prices were through the roof. And I mean, they still are now, and they're going back up again. But the fact of the matter is people still got a little bit of money in their pockets. We saw 674 cars in Bristol, or entries at least. So at the end of the day, man, this, believe it or not, as bad as the year has been economically, has been one of the biggest years in bracket racing history.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think we forecasted that. If you go back and watch a few of our earlier episodes of Going Bracket Racing, coming out of the Winter Series and things of that nature, it was just enough writing on the wall that said, "Man, we really did this last year. Man, 2022 is going to be way better, right?" I don't want to start with my thought process of what 2023 is going to look like because I hope for the best, and I don't want to be the one jinxing everybody who has a race coming into 2023, quote unquote. I may or may not be attending myself, but hopefully we don't go into that recession, even though the writing on the wall is kind of leading to otherwise, right? I got a message from a good buddy of mine today, Kevin Grider, talking about how many cars he's starting to see go up for sale online. Well, it's that time of year. People are trying to figure out, well, what are we going to do next year? Are we going with the same setup? Are we going to try to tighten it up a little bit? Are we going to have the carburetor on the car? I mean, I'm kind of thinking, what am I going to do? I might be going injection. Who knows? But it's just that time of year where everybody's seemingly beginning to put their vehicles away. I think I saw Wayne Duke might have commented to me, is the family going to be down there? I don't believe so. I know my dad broke the planetaries in the Corvette, so he yes, he could probably put in a spare transmission, but he's got other things on his mind too. I know there's a 4-link car going to be coming into the mix here pretty soon, so I know he's got a lot of work to do as far as for why he's probably not going to be down there. But so needless to say, Casey, this particular race is going to be large, and you forecasted it early on last week. And the turnout in Montgomery, that's where it is, right? It's in Montgomery again, right?
Right.
Right. The turnout at the 20s seemingly let us know that there's going to be a lot of people staying the night or staying the week at the racetrack in Montgomery. There were a lot of cars out there, dude.
Yeah, Barnes saying over here 500 last weekend in Montgomery. So, I mean, they're already there. you know what they came for. They didn't really come for the 20s. They wanted to, maybe they came to see if they did any good at the
Right.
20s and then seeing if they're going to stay type thing. But they came for time runs, is what they ended up coming for, getting everything held down because they want to be on that Hall of Fame list, man, that's been going since 1996. And also this is the first year, man, that as far as I'm aware, I think that this is the first year that same car, same driver entry is going to be allowed to double
Wow.
in the OG million. So that should, in my opinion, increase the car count substantially. And maybe not substantially, I guess you'd say, but for example, someone like Kenny Underwood, he's always going to have two cars to drive, be it his own or be it somebody else's. Corey Galletti, Chris Galletti, those guys, they have plenty of cars.
Well, you can't say Chris.
Like
you can't say Chris Galletti. I mean, I heard he
yeah.
had a little injury. Hey, speedy recovery, Chris. Speedy recovery out there. But when we get into the latter part of this show, I think I know who's gonna be driving for old Chris Galletti. So don't you let your mind spin too hard, Casey, and don't be taking none of my picks. All right, okay. But speedy recovery, Chris, man. Hate to hear it. I know it's the end of the year. You get a pretty good time to recover and get back ready for next year, man. That's probably gonna be a little bit of a recovery, breaking that type of a bone in your leg. So, man, hope for the best.
Yeah, man. The fact of the matter is that I think that the same car, same driver being able to enter the same vehicle going down the track for a double entry, I think that that's going to increase a lot of what's going on. And I know it's a big entry fee, but like I said, it's the OG million. There's plenty of people that want that U.S. Nationals Wally, and look what it costs to run that. So I just don't see it being as much of a concern for a lot of people. I think the people who are going to shell out that kind of money to enter this race, I think that they're going to shell out the extra to have a second gun in the fight.
Well, let's be honest. And there's a big elephant in the room, and that elephant is to the tune of 3,000 dead presidents. Okay,
2,000.
Excuse me, 2,000. I thought it was 3 to get into this bad boy, and Matt, honestly, it's a lot of money to put up. If we see 400 entries into the million, I think that's going to be worth a round of applause right off the bat. Okay, because that's $2,000 an entry. All right, so the elephant's out of the bag. What do you feel about the entry fee, man? Do you think it's going to deter the entry amount, the amount of cars entered?
I mean, on one hand, I do, but like I said, on the other hand, I don't. And the reason I think that more than anything, it's not because of the fact of it's not like I couldn't spend that type of money. So I'm not by any means saying that it's a great deal or whatever it is. But the fact of the matter is, if there are 400 cars, this pays $500,000. So if you're talking about spending $2,000 to win $500,000, that is a good deal. If you're talking about spending $200,000 and then only 125 cars show up and you're only running for 100, not a good deal. But if you look at it in the grand scheme of things and you feel it outright and you feel like there's a lot of people going to enter this race, which you won't know until you go down the track. That's why it's gambling with entry fees. That's what I want to say Edmund Richardson always called it. We gamble with entry fees type things. We don't gamble at the casino, gamble with entry fees. But the fact of the matter is, if you spend $2,000 and you're up to win $500,000, I think that totally changes the perspective. And I think it has a very good possibility of doing that this year simply because of what I said before, which is this very well may be the last major mega money race, and I'm not considering 50s mega money anymore, which is crazy. But with what we've experienced in the last couple of years, it's not mega money because mega money is 100 and up or even more than that. I mean, dude, if you looked at it the last 2 years and you said there was 500,000 was not the largest and $1 million or over $1 million, in fact, would be paid twice and then paid again the following year, 50 grand is not mega money. But the fact of the matter is this might be your last opportunity for a long time, depending on how things go with the economy, to win this type of money bracket racing.
Yeah, and I'm reading the chats here, and it's several people who are thinking we're already in a recession. It's just that they're choosing not to participate, and I kind of like that thought process. It's definitely something that maybe a lot of us are paying attention too. Yeah, we could be in a recession, but is it going to affect us? Is the actual question. And I'm hoping that I've done my due diligence to make sure it doesn't affect me, and hopefully you guys are out there doing the same. And so that's where I'm at with that thought process, Casey. But I will say, as far as it goes to entry fee, we have a situation in our sport to where there are, I'm not naming any entities, anybody who wants to be, um, kind of a mind reader can probably fill in the blanks. But there are entry fees that are much lower for this particular type of amount of money, especially that doesn't include a progressive purse. So that's kind of why I asked the question. Do we think that people will shy away from it based on the ability to race elsewhere for seemingly not seemingly less money for way more purse? So that's just why I asked that question. I see a question: is Brad Gebhardt going to the million? I don't know if he's going to the million, but he's probably going to be live from the 8th Mile. You guys want to chime in on that Friday whenever we go live? I figure Casey will probably go somewhere around 16 cars. What you think?
Yeah, maybe 32 even, in fact, because we figured out last year that it kind of went pretty quick at that point.
Yeah.
And as long as we can kind of maintain, during the downtime, whenever they're doing all those splits and everything, that's whenever you come over and watch GBR. We'll have Motor Mania down in the corner, so we'll always have that live as well. And we'll know exactly what's going on. We shut up once cars start going down the track. We all watch it. We talk about it. We get everybody's thoughts over in the chat because we know every single person that's on here right now watching GBR is going to stay up watching who's going to be the next OG Million champion.
Right.
So, I mean, you're not going to miss anything here because we're not going to miss anything here. But, George, I got to ask you, man, before we go to the next subject here, how many cars do you think are going to enter the OG Million this year?
My mind is telling me about 325, right there in that range. If I see 325, I'm going to think that race is successful. It's already successful in my opinion, just based on what I'm hearing. I'm seeing Barn in the chat. He's saying that the empty slots are filling up. Well, that should tell you that Barn's probably on the premises. If he knows that the empty slots are filling up, he might be there, right? I don't know. Barn, are you there? By the way, I see Bill Batson in here. What's going on, GBR? Welcome to the show, Bill Batson. Casey, what's your guess? And we can start taking some of these guesses that I'm getting in the chat.
Man, to be honest with you, I really want to say there's going to be they'll be over 400. I know it's a stretch because of the entry fee, but with everything I've said, 400 makes it pay $500,000.
Gotcha.
And what your guess was 325? You
Right.
Sure you don't want it to be 326? Because the difference between 325 and 326 is 25 grand.
Yeah, I'll take 326. That's a nice size difference for me to take it. And let me go to the chat real quick. I do have an answer. Barn is not there, but he's getting the updates from Motor Mania TV. So basically he's there. The Bass Knuckler 419. Wayne Duke 400. I seen some over here. I've got Mike Disseldorf 340. Kevin Little 312.
So we're saying basically, from what we're taking from the chat right now, if the lowest number is correct, it's going to pay at least $325,000 to win it. And if we're towards the high side, which is where I'm at, it's going to pay $500,000. I mean, either way, I think that it is going to be the highest paying event of 2022, no matter what happens. And with the number of cars that Barnes said were on site already last weekend, I just can't see. I mean, think about it, man. Let me get my calculator up here real quick. Hopefully it'll pull up on my right screen here. So
while you're doing that, I'm going to steal from Jed here. And it's kind of along the same lines as what you're saying, Casey. This is the OG Million. And this is Jed. This is quote Jed saying this. This race is the reason the others exist. There are still thousands of racers that want their name on the winners list. This race is positioned well on the calendar, and it holds a special place in history. It's always going to do well. That's a fact. That's a fact. There's no way to dispute that. Okay, that's why we call it the U.S. Nationals of bracket racing.
Exactly, man. And just some quick math: if only 70% of the people that were on site last weekend that have been confirmed last weekend, if they enter the million, that's 350 racers already right there, which would pay, let me look here, 350,000. One more of y'all needs to enter it so he can pay 400.
Hey,
So don't leave everybody hanging out to dry just because you want to hold on to that money. Come
as
on
you
now.
see, which one of us is the mathematician over here? It's definitely not me. Oh, Casey pulling out the calculator, making my 326 look all bad.
Speaking of what Big Jed said, though, man, listen to this list of people and tell me like you wouldn't want to be mentioned in the same breath of these people, because these are the previous winners: T.J. Tracy, George Tomasi, Troy Williams Jr., who still is racing today, Sherman Adcock, still one of the greatest that's ever done it, especially in super classes, Stephen Hughes, Edmund Richardson, Joel Reynolds, Johnny LaBouse, Gary Williams, who will be on there multiple times, Jeff Rux, Greg Sesty, one of our buddies from Gateway, Gary Williams again, Dave Triplett, Ron Lane, Larry Strickland, Shane Karsh, Ray Miller III, who recently just won something again, right? Won like a $100,000 race the other day. Kenny Underwood, who's always liable to win something. Rodney Fagan, Nathan Martin, Jeff Verdi, Johnny Ezel, Underwood again, Dave Triplett again, Kevin Brannon, Adam Russell. And then your name could be on the next one, man. So, I mean, like, imagine just being mentioned on the same level as those guys. Imagine where Troy Williams Jr. was in 1998 and who Troy Williams Jr. is now. Legitimately one of the greatest racers, as far as bracket racing goes, of all time. Definitely in the top 5. Sure. 1998, Troy was probably just a kid.
Sure. So, hey, look, I don't know how many entries there are going to be. Look, I'm watching Brad Gephardt's post here. There were 500 a few years back, and they had 320 entries into the big show. So,
see,
it's a good chance. I think those little races are going to have more than 500 entries. So you could definitely be onto something with that one, Brad. It definitely sounds like a Legends race, Mike Disseldorf. This is basically what this is. Not to say that the not so legends can't show up and spoil the party. So, Casey, I know we got at least one more segment of this show to get into, and definitely could probably use some crowd participation here. Top 3, what you got going on, Casey?
Are you letting me go first? Do I get the first pick? Because I know it's going to be on your list.
Nah, we get to go back and forth, but you can go first. It's all good. You can go first.
All right. So my first pick, I got a list here of let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I got 5 picks right here, so I knew I would have enough. So my number 1 pick to win the OG Billion in 2022 is going to be Corey Galletti. And the reason is because he made a ton of runs at VMP the other day. He's been very close to the OG before, obviously. We all know how that year went. But I think this is Corey Galletti's year, man. I really do. He's won in multiple vehicles this year. I mean, he wins in multiple vehicles every year, but they weren't all dragsters this time. And I think that he's got his car lined out, and I just think he's going to throw it down this year. I think Corey Galletti is my number 1 pick to win the OG Million in 2022.
That's nice. I like your pick. Hats off to the Galletti family. They are good at what they do. Multiple cars down there. And since you said that, I'm going to take Corey's partner in crime. I'm not taking him because he's one of my buddies, one of my good buddies' boys. I ain't doing it for no other reason than he's been on a roll. He's been itching. He's like you said, getting quite a few hits under his belt, racing, getting down, getting close, getting that feel, scratching it, sniffing it. And it's time for Kendall Little to win the OG Million. I'm going with Kendall Little as my number 1 pick because it's his time. Now, it's funny that you mentioned Corey Galletti because I know he's probably going to be driving in that camp somewhere, probably. And I think he may even be driving for Chris Galletti since he broke his leg. So
he was driving the red car the other day, right?
Yeah, and I know he was in Chris's Nova as well. So hey, man.
And then he was deep in that Malibu or whatever the other day. That is a very good pick.
They don't call the kid the hired gun for nothing. Had a little bit of bad luck this year. Let's just shake that off, man. You know, glad everybody's okay. Glad he's back in his race car doing what he loves to do, you know. But it's just that the stars are lining up really, really good, man. And I've been watching this kid race for a while. It's Kendall Little's turn to win one. That's my first pick. Go ahead. Who's next?
Before I go with my second pick, Quez just said Nick Folk, and I wish that was on my list because that is always my number one pick. Anytime we've ever done a pick 'em, I've always picked Nick Folk. So now Quez got him for me. So anyway, my next pick is going to be, if he's running that truck that I want to say is Chris Bear's truck, is Will Holloman, because obviously, if you watched our show last week, you know Will Holloman back-to-back at VMP pretty much against all the same guys that were coming to VMP on their way down to Montgomery, more than likely. And Will's been destroying people in that truck this year all over the country. And I really think that this might be Will Holloman's year to definitely be deep, because he's probably made more runs on that truck than Matt Daddis has made on his cars this year. And we know he got 50-something just at Gateway. So that's saying something.
That's cheating. You stole my pick. Yeah, you knew you stole it too. A door truck will be somewhere near the final. I will say that. It's been door trucks year all year long anyway. I don't wear this shirt for no reason. Door trucks just rule. That's all it is to it. But so it looks like several other people in here were saying Will Holloman's name too. I see some SR1s in here. I don't know if SR1's going to be here.
I don't think so, man. I think he's working.
Right, I think he's working. Looks like Kendall Little's going to be driving the Malibu out there. So definitely my pick. I'm going to go, if he shows, I'm going with Steve Collier, and I think he's from Ohio. There may be two Collier boys, one from Ohio, one from Louisiana. But I'm taking the one that drives the door truck, Steve Collier. It's red and it's got some nice looking graphics on it. That's my pick number 2 is the door truck.
All right, man. So we get 3 picks, right?
3.
We're getting 3?
Yep.
Man, I got a couple guys on my list that I really want to go with here, but I think that I would be stupid not to go with Kyle Contreras, who's possibly the, as far as money goes, and I mean, honestly, as far as big finals go, maybe the winningest racer of 2022 thus far.
MVP pretty easily.
I mean, dude,
yep.
Yeah, Kyle Contreras is doing what essentially Jeff Serra did the other day, dude. Kyle Contreras, if you watched our show last week, in VMP points, coming into the final race of a 12-race season, Kyle Contreras has 2 cars. He has the black one and he has the blue and white one. And he had both cars in the top 9 in points. So, I mean, that tells you how Kyle Contreras is driving this year.
Well, I'm getting word from Brad that Collier is off the bottom. I'm still taking him. I don't care if you're off the bottom or not. I'm taking.
Did they split them? Do they split them at the
I
OG?
don't know. That's a good question. Maybe Brad or Ryan will chime in and let us know there. But that's, I don't care if he's off the bottom or not. The guy's nasty whenever he gets on the string. So I'm not changing my Steve Collier pick. You stole my Will Holloman, and I seen Paige comment earlier that she was out there at the OG. And if Paige is out there, I wonder if Scooter's close with the old Gravedigger. And if Scooter Hamlin is out there, I'm taking Scooter Hamlin as my 3rd pick. So, I'm not wrong about it. I've done it once before. The man can just drive his butt off. Stay away from me in the staging lane, Scooter, because I can drive my butt off too. And I don't want to have to put you on the trailer. And I'm being honest with you now, all right? But if he's out there at the OG, I'm taking Scooter Hamlin to definitely show up.
Yeah, I mean, didn't he win IHRA bracket finals this year and go to the World Finals?
Good question. I don't know the answer. Paige might be in here somewhere.
Destroyed everybody at the foot brake race in Bristol, I believe.
And speaking of the IHRA World Finals, I got a chance to look at a little bit of that. That was a heck of a job by Holly Springs putting on that race. I think that's where that was. It looked like it would have been pretty fun to have been in attendance at. So great job out there. And good job to all the winners at the IHRA World Finals too. That was pretty fun to watch on Motormania. So, Casey, 4:56. We've made it to an hour somehow on a very, very interesting topic. What we got left, man?
I just got one more question for you, man. If Donovan Williams were to win the 2022 OG Million, how many times will the last name Williams be on that Hall of Fame sheet? Don't look at it. Don't look at it.
How many times has Gary won the dang thing? Man, I don't know. That's a good question. I want to say 5 just off a guess. I think Troy's won it once. Gary's probably won it 3 times.
Gary's won it twice.
So then 4.
4 times is how many times the last name Williams
Wow.
would be on the Hall of Fame sheet. So if the Williams brothers are, or if the Williams family, I guess I should say, isn't already in the dynasty realm of big money bracket racing, come on, Donovan, you don't need any extra pressure on you, do you?
You know, I've been watching the House of Dragons, and basically what you're saying is you got your king, you got your heir, and you got your heir after the heir. So basically, the William boys definitely. And guys, don't take it personal that we didn't pick any of the Williams boys to win the race. It just gets old because that's what happens so much. It's like I can't put a Williams down here because I mean, duh, you know. But if there's a Calcutta champ, then I might have to take one of them inside of that. So there you have it. What else we got, Casey?
They get nabbed up pretty quick, man. All we can do is say we'll be back on Friday. About let's say 32 cars. We'll be back on Friday to fill all the downtime in between the rounds. We'll talk. Hopefully, we'll get our buddy Brad on here. Right. Talk about how the race is going. Kind of do a play-by-play. Kind of get some ideas. Let all y'all get all your ideas up there in the chat. We'll be live on Facebook and YouTube. But other than that, we got to thank Syntex Printing, Team 14, Driven Racing, Oil Chance Performance Parts, TSR Racing Products, BRG 3D Printed Parts, and Ken Jones Performance. And other than that, we'll see you before next Tuesday, George.
Right. I was going to say see you Friday. So, I mean, see you guys Friday. Thanks for chiming in with us. Thanks for interacting with us, guys. Had a heck of a show today. So, appreciate everybody out there going bracket racing fans. Hit that share button. We'll see you Friday.